You've found Adventitious, where a dad and his two sons take on the world's problems one podcast at a time. Welcome to Adventitious. This is Wonko.
I am Zaphod.
And I'm Ford.
And we have a topic today. A new Amazon series called The Grand Tour dropped a quick little video, and that opens up a whole lot of discussion for us.
So, we don't know if any of you have seen the old British Top Gear with Jeremy Clarkson, Richard
the good British Top Gear.
There you go.
You mean Top Gear?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but there's Top Gear America that most Americans would think of as the actual Top Gear if they don't watch the BBC.
Okay.
But, so it's the one with Richard Hammond, Jeremy Clarkson, James May. So, after Jeremy Clarkson got kicked off because he punched a producer in the face over a steak dinner, the other two left as well, and now Amazon's taken them on, and they're making a new series called The Grand Tour.
With just shy of $170 million to make
one episode.
No, it's less than 10 episodes, but it's some ridiculously low number.
Which means it's gonna be good.
I mean, okay. We are a family that loves Top Gear. In general, we're a family that loves cars. You'll find that as we go through videos going forward. But Top Gear has a place in our heart. We've watched it for a long time. I have all of them all the way back to Series 1, Episode 1, and have watched them for a long time. As Zaphod and Ford have gotten older, they have grown to appreciate the fine wine that Top Gear was. And they managed to do some pretty amazing things in the time that they were with the BBC.
And that was with a much, much smaller budget.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the Toyota truck
a BBC
is something
budget
that stands out to me. The whole torturing it to the point, just the simple things that they were able to do that were still just insane.
They were able to put the truck on top of a building soon to be demolished right before it was blown up. And then they blew it up with the truck on top of it, and somehow it still worked.
They left it in the ocean for 4 hours, Taylor.
But that was before they... Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. This was the ultimate torture test of a car.
And they weren't allowed to, take it to the shop. They could only use the repair kit it came with to fix it.
And by and large, it kept running. And what was funny is, even after they burned it out, it still ran. And so when you look at the episodes later in the series where there's a completely smashed up Toyota truck in there, that thing was still running. It was still running, and they just couldn't take it anymore. They had done all they could, and they weren't going to do any more because it had proven its soul was worthy of being preserved. Of course, then the studio...
It belongs in a museum.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad.
The only problem was then the studio burned down and it took everything with it, and the truck was part of that. So, such is life.
the smart car that they made, or the old people car was gone, and then the smart car that they made where it was what was it?
The Eagle Thrust. Yeah, that was an unfortunate vehicle. I will say this, though. They managed to do some things that were off the charts amazing. I mean, they turned a Reliant Robin into a space shuttle.
I was just about to mention that one, too.
And they launched it. And it was the largest privately done rocket launch in European history. And they did this for a TV show. And it was a gag. And they're watching this thing take off after all the work and watching it go up, and the side boosters separate, and then the Reliant Robin doesn't, and it just keeps, come on, break away, and you watch it just auger in, and the look of devastation on their face was quite
devastating.
It was devastating. But it was very real, but the amount of time and money they put into it was phenomenal. But they also did some epic things, like driving to the Arctic Circle, driving to the North Pole.
They drove across it, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they drove across the Arctic Circle to the North Pole,
Oh, yeah.
And they were the first. I mean, that's the thing about it. They did stuff nobody has ever done, and there were a few times where they almost got killed doing the show. Probably the closest they came to death
Argentina.
was Argentina.
No, they just got stoned.
Yeah, the southern U.S. I thought they were going to die.
Painting Hillary Clinton on the side of their truck.
Yeah, gay is best and stuff like that on the sides of their cars, and truly they had a lynch mob chasing them down the freeway. So you've got all the controversy around that, and Jeremy Clarkson was never afraid to say something that was completely politically incorrect. And there were some pretty bad things he said. I will grant that. At the same time, in the end, it was mostly in the name of just being stupid, because that's kind of who he was being stupid.
Yeah, that's kind of who all of them were.
I don't know.
James May, he was just like that old guy.
He was just a little. He's anything but stupid, but he's a bit of pedantic. So I guess I'll ask you guys, what was your favorite Top Gear episode?
Oh,
jeez. You start, because I have to think about this. Yeah, that was a good answer. Yes.
Okay, so there's a whole bunch of them. I mean, the rocket one, obviously, that one stands out.
I like the one with the torture test with the Toyota truck.
There were just so many that I've liked. Like,
I can give you two that stand out to me, and they're kind of good examples of the two sides of Top Gear. There's one where they did an kind of their epic journey, and it's something that Top Gear just got really good at, where they would this one they went to Africa.
Oh yeah, that's one that I was debating about saying was my favorite.
Yeah, and just they basically would buy junker cars and make them do things that were ridiculous. And I mean, to the point that so they're driving across this old lake bed that was basically a mud bog with a thin crust of dirt on it. And they had to basically strip these cars down to where they're taking the hoods and the doors and breaking the glass off, and I mean, making them nothing so that they could get across this. Then they get to the other side and they have to build them back up again, because now they're going to go drive through a safari park and they don't want to get eaten by the tigers and lions. So they have to build the cars back up again. And of course they do things like throwing a hunk of meat inside one of the guys' cars and things like that to try and make it harder for them. But the photography in it, the cinematography in it, the epic nature of what they're doing, and the ambitiousness of it, and by and large they succeeded in what they were trying to do.
I think that's one thing that's going to be hard for Grand Tour to live up to, is the ability for BBC, the BBC's cast to film cars under the name of Top Gear. Just the people that worked there got so good at it. But
they got all the good
they
people.
Did?
Yeah, they took the entire team. That's why Top Gear was so different.
That's why it sucks now.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that.
I mean, even
the guys who worked on Top Gear wanted to be with Jeremy Clarkson.
The new Top Gear, I love.
Except that one, the guy that
got punched in the face.
They didn't bring him on.
Jeremy Clarkson probably wouldn't have liked that because he likes his steak dinners.
Yes. But anyway,
what's his name? Dang it, the American guy on the new Top Gear.
Oh,
one guy from Friends.
Joey from Friends.
Yeah,
anyway. We'll say he is like perfect for Top Gear. Yeah, I love him.
He is.
But then, what's his name? The ginger guy who just got kicked out. What's his name?
Chris
Kringle. Chris Evans.
Yeah, Chris Evans.
He was bad.
Yeah, and
he said Porsche.
That was automatic.
Oh, nails on a chalkboard.
I know.
Okay, just in case anybody is wondering, it is Porsche. It is a person's name. This is not something you can anglicize. The E is not silent. It is Porsche. If you call it a Porsche, you deserve to have your eyes gouged out with a tire iron from a Porsche. Anyway,
I have a friend whose dad
Would
owns...
you like me to... Wait.
I have a friend whose dad owns one of the Porsche dealerships in our area, and he's denied and kicked out many people from the dealership because they said Porsche.
The best thing is, I was in one of my friends was trying to tell me that it was Porsche, and I was like, would you rather have me call Ford Ferd or something, or like Chevy? I can't remember what I said for that one, but it was. He's just like, I hate you, and walked away. It's because it's the correct way of saying it.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so I liked him, and I think that if they didn't they end the Top Gear?
They ended Top Gear America.
The new Top Gear series, and it was a good effort, but it
was a failed effort.
It was, and unfortunately, they just were trying. They were doing the greatest hits, not coming up with new stuff that was their own, and that was the sad thing. And the funny thing is, they got rid of Jeremy Clarkson to get the controversy away from the show. And so what's the first thing that happens? They have all kinds of controversy around the show because they do have Ken Block doing donuts in front of the cenotaph.
I was fine with that, to be honest, though. It wasn't... Okay, they made it sound like it was so close, and it wasn't. No. It was actually really far away. And honestly, to me, that's showing respect.
They were showing places of importance, and he wasn't in the area. He was on the road in front of it. I just don't see that as...
I mean, cars drive by it all the time, and I'm going to be honest, a lot of cars probably drive wildly in front of it anyway. But, like, honestly, the whole episode with Ken Block in it, it was subpar for Ken Block. You could kind of tell in it, he was I don't know, just like the look on his face was kind of like he was annoyed or something. I don't know if anybody else agrees with that. Have you?
Well, I haven't seen it. I just didn't watch it. I kind of stopped watching it.
It felt like they were holding him back because he is such a talented driver, and the stuff that he was doing, he was just drifting around stuff, doing donuts.
If you want to see Ken Block, don't watch Top Gear. Like the new Top Gear. Watch his YouTube channel.
Yeah, Jim Connett is just insane. I mean, he's doing donuts around moving trucks that are driving on two wheels and doing donuts around planes that are being pulled on a runway. It's ridiculous.
It made me really sad that Sabine Schmidt was underutilized.
She was...
Sabine Schmidt she was one of the gems that were found by the original Top Gear. And she actually was on the German Top Gear as one of the hosts. But as the queen of the Nürburgring, she's got talent. She knows how to whip a car around the track. And they used her so little. It really was sad. I mean, all they did was basically make her make a few guys puke.
Yeah, it's true.
You can use the Stig to do that. Have her do stuff that's cool, you know? But anyway.
And this triggers me so bad. The new track. They made Rally.
That was changed just for the sake of change, not for something better.
Yeah, and it was like... I understand putting them in. I understand their thinking of, let's change it up because we're changing up the show already. Let's just change the track up so it's different. But it's not.
Now that means nothing can compare to anything that's gone before.
Everything that has happened from that point before is just gone.
Well, or you could just say everything from now on is gone and means nothing.
All right, so I'm gonna bring this back full circle to another episode that I really like, and this is one you've got to look this up on YouTube. It truly is epic. It was when they were doing a review of the Ford Fiesta.
Oh yeah, you do need to look this up.
So
it's not hard to find.
The whole premise of it is that they don't do reviews of reasonably priced cars, and so they do one, but they do it in epic Top Gear style. It goes from a fairly cocky, offbeat initial review of it to now they're chasing baddies in the middle of a mall, and I mean in a mall, like through the
wasn't that
shops
one with the
and stores.
Corvette?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the Corvette.
They were drifting Corvettes inside of a mall,
Yeah.
like around shops.
Like around
It
the little
was-
sunglass stands and iPhone case stands in the middle.
And it ends up with them storming a beach on a amphibious personnel carrier, driving the troops onto the beach in the Fiesta, and with helicopters and gunships and all kinds of crazy stuff flying all around, bombs blowing up, and it was. If you are looking for a taste of what Top Gear was at its best, I think those two videos probably represent it. The only one I would add to that is the Arctic, when they went to the
that
North
one
Pole.
was-
And the Toyota torture chest.
That one's really good, but I mean, in my opinion, the Arctic one and
It's true.
the Africa one, they give you a sense of the epic scale
That's true.
and the cinematography.
How much they can do.
I mean, when they got to the end and Hammond he'd been dog slayed. So you got to realize, you got James May and Jeremy Clarkson, and they're riding in this truck that's been tricked out. And I mean, it's a nifty truck. Okay, it's they did it right, and they make it to the North Pole, and Hammond is going on a dog sled trying to beat them, and he doesn't make it, and he doesn't beat them, and it was the most difficult thing he'd ever done. You could tell it was killing him, and the look of just dejection when he loses was. I truly felt
gut-wrenching.
bad for him. I mean, you felt how bad he must have felt after all of that effort and all of that pain. And so, I mean, I think that's one of the things they did really well was they tended to trade off. One of them would always have to take the hard road. Jeremy in the cab of the train and the race, or there's always somebody who has to take the really hard. And when he's in the cab of the train, it wasn't a modern train; it was a steam locomotive, and he's having to
loading
shovel coal.
Yeah.
And
With this just look of disgust the entire time.
he comes out, and he looks like a lump of coal. I mean, he just looks like a lump of coal.
Not that he doesn't look like
That's
that
what
normally.
happens
but
when you get really sweaty and lots of coal dust.
Yeah. So those would be my recommendations. I will turn the time over to the boys here to give their
all of your
takes.
recommendations are exactly lined up
Yeah.
with mine. It's kind of like that. Yeah, that's exactly lined up with mine. I'm bummed that the American Top Gear's gone though, because that was
Yeah.
good. That was better than the English Top Gear.
The
at that
new
time.
English Top
Yeah, the new English. That's what I meant.
the bad Top Gear.
Well, the problem I think that happened with the new Top Gear, with American Top Gear, is people went into it expecting it to be the English Top Gear.
Which they tried for the beginning
The
season.
first season or two, that was kind of what
It was
they
the
were
first
doing.
couple episodes, and then they realized this isn't going to work. We can't do this.
So then they just started doing challenges,
Which
and that
I
was-
liked.
yeah, and
They kind of found their footing. They found their niche, and they started really
it was
pursuing it.
funny. I love Tanner Faust. Tanner Faust is
Tanner.
so
He's a
awesome.
good driver.
He's a great driver, and he's just such a awesome person.
But they had good chemistry. The three of them, they actually they developed chemistry. If you look at the original Top Gear, in the beginning,
They had a
first
different
off,
person.
James May wasn't on it.
Yeah, it was a different
Yeah.
person. It was some.
It was
other kid.
some fat guy.
Yeah, that's exactly what popped into my head.
Yeah, and he was basically selling used cars. That was his whole shtick on it, was selling used cars, and it just was like, okay,
That was his job on the show.
yeah, he would like come up with some hot deal for a used car on the episode, and it was like, this
What?
is international. Yeah, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. He was gone after the first season, and James May came in, and once they kind of got their footing and they got the formula going, it was truly amazing. Okay, so what other episodes? We can't just leave it.
I
at those two.
loved the newer one, like from the last season that they did with the Ford Raptor and the they
And
what
the
road was
Silverado.
it? They were doing the race with off-road trucks.
Oh, this America. Top
no,
Gear
this is England.
Oh, that's
English.
right. Where
Hammond's in the Ford Raptor, the
Yeah.
yellow Ford Raptor, and then
he was racing them. He'd done the. Didn't one of them? He had the watch with the GPS in it.
yeah,
And okay, that's a cool watch, by the way. That's one other thing that I really like or watch is I'm a fan of fine timepieces. I like the engineering, so that was a mighty fine piece of engineering. But regardless, yeah, that was a good one. They actually used essentially that same Raptor in one of the Top Gear Americas, and it was pretty good. They did have some kind of crossover things that were maybe, if you watch both series, were almost a little too similar.
Yeah. But I loved the American Top Gear. Not as much as the original English cast, but I loved it. It was just it was a good show.
They'd finally gotten their feet under them just in time to get canceled. Mm-hmm. So that was unfortunate. Okay.
You should just spam the channel, the TV company with emails saying, bring
back Clarkson, Taylor. Yeah, that worked.
Worked for Futurama.
Well, what? For what? A season or two?
No, Futurama was cut off, and then people made it come back, and then it's still running.
It went away again.
It did. What? Yeah. When?
It was only around for a season or two, and it came back.
Are you sure?
I love Futurama, but anyway.
Yeah, Futurama's good, but that's not the topic at hand, although it does fit into the random thought. Okay, let's go back to Top Gear original. So, what other episodes stand out, guys? So I'm trying to think. Was it the Bolivia one where they went to the high in the mountains to try and get over the mountain? No, the Bolivia one was the jungle one. They had one, and I can't remember where it was. They had to go up into the mountain. They had a choice. There was a shortcut up over the mountain, or they could go this long circuitous route around the mountain. And they decided to go up over the mountain. And they started, the oxygen's so low at the top of the mountain that the cars, if they were to shut the cars down, they wouldn't start back up. And they were starting to get headaches. And I mean, they actually had given them Viagra, which generally would be used for other purposes.
Yeah.
It's a heart medicine. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why they use it. But the idea was using it to actually help their blood flow while they're, and so they can get more oxygen going while they were at altitude. It was truly, if their cars had conked out, they were in danger of being truly exposed up there. And it got to the point where even they finally turned around and went back. They didn't do that very often. Yeah, they would leave cars behind that had been trashed, but they usually forced their way through it somehow. I mean, the Bolivia one, they had to cut down trees to make a raft.
Yeah.
So they could get across the river.
The Argentina special was really good. I liked that one. That one was it was just, I mean, the whole thing where they I don't know. It was just, I liked it.
There was a lot more to it that didn't get shown, and it's unfortunate. I wish it had been shown in its original form, but yeah.
Another good one that I just remembered about is, so they did this one where they decided that Britain's ambulances were ineffective. And they were too slow.
Ineffective.
Ineffective. Yes. I don't care.
It would be ineffective.
Grammar Nazi.
Yes. See Kyle.
You can't say that on the internet.
If I'm going to be the grammar Nazi, I get to say that.
Anyway, so they decided that they would make their own. So the first time they decided that they would take that little one-seater car that's the size of a lawnmower.
I actually think they had a lawnmower engine in it. But,
they put their team racing driver in. Yes.
The Peel? Oh.
That they put their team racing driver in, who has no medical experience at all. And they decided that he would be the ambulance operator.
And then he
could drive fast. So then they drove it. They drove it up into the elevator since it was so small, picked the guy up. And then they took the stretcher and they hooked it up with a tow cable to it. And as they turned, he just fell off on the road. And they decided that was ineffective as well. So then they decided that they would split off on their own and make their own because they couldn't agree on another design. And of course, James May shows up with a hearse. Jeremy Clarkson shows up with a
Porsche 944.
and then Richard Hammond shows up with the van,
A GMC
which is
van.
what they were trying to avoid in the first place.
Which might have been a Chevy, but
Whatever. So then after a while, they decided that they had to give their paint jobs to notify that there were ambulances, and so Hammond had the bright idea of putting all these warning labels and writing budget toxic waste nuclear waste disposal on it. So his thinking was, if it's budget, people will be scared of him and that they would just run away and he wouldn't have anybody in his way to drive.
maybe we should leave it so they can watch the episode.
No. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny.
I will say one thing. There was so so I think it was Jeremy's car. He made it so that the cart no, it was the van. It launched out of the back of the van.
Oh, that was. I will warn you. Some of the things they do are just painful to watch.
That's why we love the show, though.
They were known for taking cars and kind of reimagining them. We'll call it that. How's that?
Yeah, on James May's ambulance, he had the back door of the hearse open, and then he had made the stretcher remote control that used GPS to find out where it was supposed to go, and it would just automatically come out and go to the hospital. But as he was bragging to his co-stars about how he was the most effective, it pulled back out of the hospital and started running away down the field, away from the hospital.
Because he was using the same technology that the
Pokemon Go app uses, that Dad uses to cheat.
No, the tractor one.
I don't cheat.
Yes, you do.
That isn't
we won't argue about that right now.
Exploiting.
Okay, yeah, that's a better way to say it. I just like them all.
Yeah.
I honestly just like them all. Like, there's not one that I didn't like, to be honest.
There are a few, but they're
They're
by
far and
the
wide.
exception.
Well, honestly, no. Like, there weren't any that I didn't like.
Some weren't quite as good, but they were all good.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
How many seasons did they had? Like 22? 21?
13.
No,
it is 22.
13.
It was 22.
It's 21 or
21
22.
with the original cast, 22 including the new cast. I'm pretty sure.
Something. But yeah, in that order. Anyway, so Top Gear, if you haven't watched the original Top Gears, they are available as torrents. If you're... sorry. Nobody would actually download those as torrents.
Oh my gosh! Like, what terrible people are the only people that would want to do that?
I will say, I think that's the only way you can get the first few seasons, though,
Yeah.
is downloading the torrents.
Because they don't have them on iTunes and stuff. But
It
anyway,
was interesting. There was a long time. There was a website, and I can't remember what it was called. I think it was Final Gear or something like that. That it was a forum, but they would also list the torrents as they came out for each of the episodes, so that people could download them. And pretty much until the last year of Top Gear, they essentially just turned away from it. They did not bug them at all, and even left posts and things about the episodes as people did it. So it wasn't that they didn't know about it. They kind of tacitly allowed it. There came a point where they did send them a takedown notice, which they did have to stop listing them. But I think you can get the vast majority of the episodes online now. The problem with it is then they became much more inconsistent and not as good quality as the original ones that were being put up, such as Life. I do have some on DVD too, though.
You do?
Yeah. I think season 10 I've got on DVD. That was some good one.
At least you didn't say VHS.
I'll tell you another epic thing they did. See, the other thing that they did a lot of, they would break records, and I mean legitimately break records. So
the Bugatti one.
Yeah, when James May gets in the Bugatti Veyron Supersport,
Yeah,
and he's got the Bugatti factory prepping this thing, and he takes it on. So Volkswagen has this track that was originally I
can't remember what it is either.
The track was, I think it was an airstrip or something, but it was right on the border of East Germany, And it was the place that it was basically a very secure no-fly zone. And so they made this track there so that they could do testing and things without having to worry about spying for Volkswagen. And they took the Veyron there, and James May takes it out. And legitimately...
Was it James May or Richard?
No, it was James May.
Was this the road that was so long and straight you could see the curvature of the Earth?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 5-mile, essentially, oval.
Mm-hmm.
It has some turns in it so that you can get up to speed, but it's really the only place you can get a Veyron up to top speed because of the amount of track that's needed to do it. And he actually topped it out. Now, he had the world record. Admittedly, it was only for a couple of hours because then their factory driver went and got it like 3 or 4 miles an hour faster. But he legitimately got a world record in a Bugatti Veyron, and they did things like that all the time. Richard Hammond was driving a dragster, and he got a record on the first run, and to complete the record, he had to get it coming back the other way, and he had a wheel blow, and the thing augered in, and it just disintegrated. And he actually ended up with some brain trauma from it, and it took him a while to come back from that. It's he was a kind of a different person for a couple of seasons while he was recovering from that, and it was a very traumatic thing. They dealt with it very well on the show.
Yeah, they kind of like it was kind of seamless the way that they did it. To be honest, like it was you couldn't really like tell that like I mean you everybody knew about it because of the new stuff, but like when he was on there, it was like they had him in just the right amount of stuff and in just the right amount of ways that it was hard to tell that he like was having problems still.
Well, and when they had him come down, it was funny because he comes in and he's coming down. They've got all the showgirls and everything in the parade and everything around him as he's coming down. It's like, yeah. It was quite humorous. They dealt with it in a very good way. It was, I mean, he legitimately almost died on that one. And they did that over and over and over and over and over again. So hopefully they take some of that spirit of the best of the original Top Gear, and now they have the Amazon show Grand Tour
with the near infinite budget.
Yeah, like they think about this. They could be doing Bugatti Veyrons that they own for the show.
Yeah, but now they're renting Range Rovers and taking them off road.
Yeah, the video. Yeah, I guess they can afford it just to have a gag of renting and ruining a car.
They did that a lot, and it was kind of an ongoing gag where they would rent a car and
just destroy it.
Yeah, they would.
If you work at a rental service and you see Richard Hammond or any of the other crew, don't give them a car.
Either that or be prepared that you probably are going to want to replace that car.
Yeah.
I mean, the insurance will cover it. But, oh, man, they usually... I mean, you're lucky if it comes back in one piece. You're lucky if it comes back...
At all.
In general, yeah.
They had several... They had one where James May was driving it on one of their trips, and he ends up having to abandon it somewhere, and he goes and rents another one from another place. But it was a different color, so the guys... Hang on, wasn't your car a different color? Anyway. So... I think it's safe to say we are big fans of Top Gear, and we're looking forward to seeing the Grand Tour as it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
And
isn't it August that's coming out? Late August?
Fall. I'm not certain when they actually drop, but fortunately we're already Amazon Prime. We have Amazon Prime, so we will be able to watch that. If you want to see Grand Tour, you will need Amazon Prime. You've got to give Jeff Bezos his... piece of meat so that you can enjoy the goodness that is the original Top Gear in its new form. It will be interesting to see what happens with the new Top Gear with Matt LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc.
Matt
I
LeBlanc.
love Matt LeBlanc. Didn't they cancel
It only
the
took
English
us 30
Top Gear,
minutes to
I
remember.
thought they did.
No,
I love Matt LeBlanc though. He's so perfect for. the second cast that they had, they drove me insane. Like, it was just
Too many people.
It was too many people, but it was also they were bad at it. Like, it was
Like the young guys?
it was so subpar compared to any other, like, even the bad car shows that were on TV. They were like, it was like they pulled like people who were just straight out of college or something and were done with their acting or like commentary degree or whatever you have to get that job, and just put them in.
I don't think that's what they needed. I don't think they needed a commentary degree, but
whatever it is, okay, just they just kind of.
It was unfortunate. I will say this: they had a kind of an after show thing that was awful. And
let's recap everything that you just spent an hour and a half watching.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. We watched the first episode. Actually, I don't even think we watched the whole episode.
No, we did.
We watched like 15 minutes of it and went, yeah, I think we're done now.
The first episode?
Well, we watched the first episode, but not of the after show.
No, we didn't even watch 15 minutes of the episode. We watched like a couple minutes. Because the after show is only 30 minutes with commercials. So we watched like a minute and we're just like, nope, we're done. Goodbye.
It was a lot more than a minute because we actually tried to give it a chance. But it was... Yeah.
Well,
it's unfortunate, but now we have that other show with the the old cast.
Grand Tour.
Yeah, Grand Tour, that's
Grand
the name
Tour,
of it.
Taylor.
With the near infinite budget, so it should be even better than the original.
Plus the BBC
we
isn't
hope.
going to be yelling at them and telling them that they can and can't do stuff.
Jeremy Clarkson can have his steak dinners.
One person on the new one that we didn't talk about much, Eddie Jordan. I wish they had a lot of weird kind of guest hosts. I like Eddie Jordan being involved. Eddie Jordan has a great background, but I think he was totally underutilized. And I wish they'd have given him the ability to actually comment on things. I mean, maybe he was not good at it, and maybe that they cut that out or something. But it felt like he was totally underutilized. If you don't know who Eddie Jordan is, he owned a racing team that became Force India. He sold it to them in
Force India. No, Force India is still there. Never mind.
Right.
They're doing really well right now, actually.
Right, but it was Jordan Racing that he owned with some partners for a long time, and he also drove Formula One himself. So he's got a background that is fascinating, and I think he could lend a real interesting aspect to the show, but he's not a character. That was the one mistake. Either they need to let him be a character or let him just be a commentator at different points.
I got it. Okay, if you're listening to us, BBC, I have an idea. So Motor Trend, they have their driver that sits, I can't remember what his name is, dang it. They use him for like a lot of Motor Trend shows. He's kind of their go-to guy when they want to go and test a car on their track or something. And like he's so good at commentating.
Stig?
No, the Stig doesn't talk. The Stig just sets down a lap time. I think that it'd be interesting if they used Eddie Jordan to kind of talk about how the car handles and stuff like Motor Trend does, similar to it.
Except he was just a guest host, wasn't he?
It feels like
he's part of the team.
Oh, he is?
He's supposed to be part of the team, but he was used like a guest host. And that, I think, was the mistake.
Didn't they do that with the other one, too?
Oh, that drove me
Sabine Schmidt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't even appeared again yet.
I know. They were totally underutilized. And what it is Chris Evans' ego was too big to allow anybody else to shine. The Chris Harris and Rory Reid, whatever, let them do their little after show. I don't care about that. But Sabine Schmidt, Matt LeBlanc, I think the two of them together can be something spectacular. Eddie Jordan, I would love to see him participate in it in some way. They need somebody else to round it out, though. That trio is part of what made the show work. I don't see Eddie Jordan as part of the trio. And the reason it worked so well was you had three very different personalities that all kind of played
together
off each other.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even so much they meshed as it was almost the
clashing,
the battle between
the clashing of it.
You could see they were friends,
but they hated each other at the same
yeah,
time.
they were frenemies.
Reason for references.
Yeah. They very much enjoyed what they were doing together, but they also were highly competitive with each other, and were not afraid to completely and totally sabotage each other, even if it meant putting a dead cow on their car.
Yeah, they got a lot of hate for that.
Oh, that was awful. I can't imagine what that smelled like. That had
the next episode. They have to explain to everybody that the whole cow situation and how everybody freaked out about it, and it was
already dead. It wasn't there. They hadn't killed it. It was already dead. That's all you need to know. When you see the cow on the hood of the car, it was already dead.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave it at that. Anyway, so hopefully BBC gets their act together. The best thing they can do for Top Gear is get the executives out of the middle of it and let the people who actually know what they're doing deal with it. I think the Grand Tour is going to be very interesting. The little bits and flashes we've seen seem to show that they have things well in hand there.
Yeah, it seems like they still have the same kind of personality between them as they did in Top Gear. But I guess we'll see how it shows up in the show. Honestly, though, even if it's a little bit different,
it will be.
It's still going to be good.
Oh, it has to be different. I mean, you lose. They can't do the Stig.
I can see them making up something that's
they'll do
they'll play on the black Stig that they had in the first few seasons or something,
or the green Stig, or the African Stig,
yeah.
or the fat Southern American Stig. Yeah, they definitely played the Stig thing. I think the Stig won't show up in any form. I think they've got enough driving talent. Actually, that's one of the things I like about those guys. They legitimately have driver talent. Watch Jeremy Clarkson as he drives one of these supercars around a track.
He's just so precise in everything that he's doing. And
he's steering it with 3 fingers, 2 fingers and a thumb, and carrying on a conversation as he's drifting it through these turns.
Yeah, it's just I can't even do that in a video game.
Yeah. They have become highly capable drivers in their own right. Mm-hmm. And even James May.
Yeah, James May.
Captain Slow.
But what's his name? Ginger in the new Top Gear. What's his name? I can't remember.
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans, yeah. I did not like his driving style even. He was just, he was so
he did
bad.
was yell, "Ah!
Oh my gosh, it's so fast!" kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it
was like a bad impression of Clarkson.
I know. Yeah, that's such a good comparison.
I mean,
he was too much like PewDiePie.
Okay, no, just don't. No, we don't want YouTube drama. Just continue. Anyway,
if you want to have Clarkson's famous line is "power," and he couldn't do that, so he just kind of went. I mean, it was whatever.
Yeah. That's Clarkson's second famous line.
Oh, what's his first most famous?
On that bombshell,
oh.
It's time to end.
And I think on that bombshell,
it's time to end.
This is Adventitious. Have an adventitious day.